that's really my job, is to analyze, the work that, what's been done and how can we change it for the future to make it better. And how can we, in that way, turn your weaknesses that you have today and more into strengths.
Yeah.
Right.
We can help get your confidence back. Like we can help build habits in your life that are sustainable.
Yep.
And help find the root causes that are going to help you get your confidence back. But when you get your confidence back, you're going to be able to enjoy all those other things that you're missing out on.
Really, I think every business owner, we need to plan deeper than that. We need to plan beyond that. It's like not just what did you make in revenue, but what did you make in profits?
That you could translate, hey, yeah, we're helping you with the numbers, but this is what, when we solve these problems, this is what your life can look like.
Yep.
Like let's say you're selling a car.
Yeah.
And you talk about this feature and that feature and all that, and it's like, great, it has all this feature, but how is this really like impacting my life?
It would be really great if you could help us with some advice on how we could grow our business and make our numbers better.
Be seen, be heard. Radiance Videography Podcast.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, a Radiance Videography Podcast. Hey, if you're new to the channel, we just want to let you know we're so grateful that you're tuning in, and we just want to provide, have other business owners, other people that have a great story to tell, and bring them on our podcast, and hopefully that brings value to you guys. Today we have a special guest. His name is Ryan Kimler. And he is in the business financial advising industry. And so he's a business financial advisor. And I'm so grateful to have him on. And I hope you're going to enjoy this podcast. Ryan, I'm so thankful that you jumped on with us. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to learn more about your business and how you kind of got into the industry and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for you to be here.
Absolutely. I'm grateful and happy to take the time and excited to share today. So
that's awesome. Well, man, I typically like to just ask people like a little bit about their backstory, how they got into the industry, a little bit before maybe the process of leading up to that.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get into talking a little bit more specifics about what you do and how you help, other companies and their financials.
Sure.
So, yeah, man, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me dive in here. So, at heart, I am a small town guy. I grew up small town,
Me too.
Cornfield across the street. Like St. Louis is big to me. We're sitting here in St. Louis, O'Fallon today, greater St. Louis area. And, so I grew up small town, probably 15,000 people, maybe, small state university, and up in Illinois, central Illinois. And then completed my high school career and went over to Illinois State University, went to their School of Business. It's pretty well known in the U.S. So State Farm is headquartered in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. So is Country Financial. And then Caterpillar's headquartered in Peoria.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And so world headquarters actually for Caterpillar. And so what happens is they have invested a lot of money into Illinois State University Business School. So you have the greatest resources, greatest teachers, greatest students. And then those three companies are taking, a lot of students from that school into their company to be employees, right? So it's kind of like it's almost like a farm system, right? like
that makes sense, yeah.
Like if you think baseball, if you think like minor league baseball, right? They all have farm systems. They all have these are up and coming people of who's going to be in our company, right? Or in our major league team, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. And they do that at Illinois State. And so when I was there, the undergraduate business school, I think they were ranked like 95th in the country. So they were in the top 100 undergraduate business schools in the country. And so I went there and it was just, for me, it was 2 hours away from where I lived. And it was an in-state school, right? I grew up, pretty much middle class. And so that's, my parents could afford to send me there, and it was in-state. And for me, it was a great school, great opportunity. So I got my accounting degree. I got my finance degree there. And that really set me up and got me to 150 college hours.
Okay.
And you have to have 150 college hours in order to sit for the CPA. And that was my plan. And so that's why I got the finance degree too. And so it was like supposed to be a 5-year program. I crammed it all into 4 years.
So you're one of them driven people.
Yes, I am driven. Yeah. And had the opportunity in high school with a local community college to get some college credits in high school. So that kind of helped me out. So then like a 5-year program when I started kind of turned into 4.5. And I was like, I could knock out a semester and do a couple classes in the summer. So that's what I did. And really crammed 5 years into 4 and again, had both degrees and was prepared to sit for the CPA and got out of school. And when you're going to sit for the CPA, what do? You go work for a CPA firm, right? That's what you do. And so that's what I did. I went and worked for a CPA firm, and that firm was really doing bookkeeping, journal entries, taxes for small business owners. And so that's where I was first exposed to working with small business owners, working in their books, working in their finances. And, I loved working with them, right? I'm a firm believer that the economy today is really built on small business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a firm believer that that's what runs our economy today, right? And so then while I was there and I was working with these clients, at the end of every month, we'd put together their financials. So usually like a profit and loss statement or an income statement. Those two things are the same thing, and their balance sheet, right? And each month we would offer them a call if they wanted to go over it, ask any questions, right? It was really a deep accounting review. And along the way, I had a couple business owners, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but they said, we like the work that you're doing for us. It would be really great if you could help us with some advice on how we could grow our business and make our numbers better, right?
So you're like, cha-ching, a new opportunity, huh?
For me, no. Actually, at the time, I was like deer in headlights. I have no idea how to answer that question, right?
Okay, all right.
Very green in my career. I mean, this is one of my first careers right out of school, and just had no idea.
Wow.
And kind of the set of circumstances that I was in at the time, there was really no one at that firm that really knew great answers to that question either. And so, but that definitely started a passion in me, right? Kind of sparked a fire, right? And as you mentioned earlier, I mean, I'm definitely, driven, want to go find answers, right? And so I wanted answers to those questions. And, next chain of events that kind of happened is that firm, they had a dispute among partners. One of the partners had lent the business some money that ended up in a dispute, that ended up in court, ended up over a lawsuit. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I'm like, I am not staying here, right?
Wow.
So I had a non-compete, and I waited. So that was 2 years. So I waited out my non-compete. I went and worked corporately elsewhere, and that's a whole other experience. But while I was corporate for those couple of years, I spent my vacation time, holidays, any time off I could get, sick time, really going and learning, and really traveled all over the United States to go learn, go figure out answers to these questions, and go also look for mentors that had answers to how do I help a business grow and make their numbers better. That's what I spent 2 years.
That's crazy,
doing.
bro. You're just like the dude taking not even taking vacations, man. That's awesome.
For sure, I would use vacation days to travel and go to conferences. Everybody works like, are you going anywhere fun? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, San Diego, California, right?
But people are like, that's fun.
Yeah, but they didn't know that I was going completely for business, and I didn't have any downtime, and it wasn't there I wasn't there to go sightseeing,
Yeah.
And
I am curious. You said you're from a real small town.
Yeah.
I expect you to have some sort of hick accent, or something like that.
I don't. I mean, I definitely have a Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in Warrenton, and everybody's like, y'all from Warrenton?
Yeah. We're not that bad. No, we're not that bad. So
sorry,
that's all right.
There.
That's all right. All good. All good. So I really, spent those next couple of years, again, I had a passion for working with small business owners and really helping them. And after I waited out my non-compete for those 2 years, then I launched my own firm, right? And kind of right back into the work that we were doing. That's what I knew how to do. all while, still trying to learn better ways to help them grow their business. Right. And 2021, I found a great CFO training organization, and it was exactly what I was looking for. And fast forward to today, that was 4 years ago, right? And now I use that CFO training program. They've got a system that they use to work with clients that's been used on tens of thousands of businesses.
Yeah.
And I use that system today. One of the founders of the program is like my personal mentor now. And I'm also one of 7 of the mentors of that program so that I can train other accountants on the system and how to use it. And
that's incredible. You were talking about right before we got online, like a lot of times small business owners don't even know what a CFO is. So it's really on the financial side, but could you kind of elaborate on?
For sure. So let's set the foundation a little bit. Let's talk about a couple positions that they probably know. So first, if you're looking at your finance department, first level is probably your bookkeeper, right? Your bookkeeper, they're responsible for tracking all the money in, all the money out, and that ends up on your financial statements. When they get done with their job, you should have a rough draft of a profit and loss and a balance sheet. Then next level after that is kind of like an accountant. So an accountant takes things to the next level. If there's journal entries that need to be made or basically adjustments, they kind of take your draft to a final stage. And then, a lot of times accountants and CPAs also do taxes, right? So they'll take your final draft and they'll file your tax returns to the IRS. So you're compliant there, right? And then you get to the CFO stage. Everything that I've talked about so far, right? Your bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, tax preparers, they are all looking at the past. They're all looking at what's been done. It's all historical, right? Your CFO is really the first position that you hire in your finance department that looks forward. It's forecasting forward. Where are we going? Where is the business going? And it's also strategic. So just like, you might do some strategic planning in your business, like on the marketing side or, things like that. That's what a CFO does on the finance side. What levers can we pull? What changes can we make in order to change the numbers that you're going to have tomorrow, right? I can't go back and change the numbers you had yesterday. They're already done, right? But, that's really my job, is to analyze, the work what's been done and how can we change it for the future to make it better? And how can we, in that way, turn your weaknesses that you have today and more into strengths?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we had talked on the phone and you kind of explained a little bit of what you do. And, to me as a business owner too, or just any small business owner, if you can have somebody that knows your financials, help you better on the strategic planning side and, setting goals for, what you want to do, obviously for the overall finances, but also that would include like specific goals in the business
for
just
sure
overall.
Yep.
And I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but
yeah, definitely. So, a lot of business owners, when we get near the end of the year, maybe you start looking things over and you're like, oh, this is cool. I hit a new milestone this year. Maybe, I'm just going to throw out numbers. Maybe I hit 300K this year, or I hit 500K, or I hit $1 million, right? Yeah. And we're all, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, it's like sales. That's what we're focused on, right? And that's kind of the culture we live in. But really, I think every business owner, we need to plan deeper than that. We need to plan beyond that. It's like, not just what did you make in revenue, but what did you make in profits? What did you take home to your family, right?
Yeah.
And did we add cash to the bank, right? Because realistically, if you don't have positive cash flow from your business that can stay in the business and help it grow, eventually you'll run out of money.
Yeah.
Right. And you can probably take on debt to start with. Right. And for, in some circumstances, and maybe you can contribute some money to the business as the owner, but eventually you're going to run out of resources if your business isn't operating, producing cash. And so
I would think essentially too, if you don't have the money there in the bank, or you're negative, like one bad mistake could really put you under.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of times when I get brought in, we'll have a business and they did really well like 2 years ago, really great profits. and then something changed in their business and the next year is down, right? And you can feel that it's down. And so then that's when business owners start getting the sense of, well, something's wrong, right? And I need to adjust it. And so, I think, having strong profits, having a strong percentage of profits, right? Like if you're bringing $1 million in as a business owner and you're only keeping $80,000 in profits, that'd be an 8% profit margin. As you mentioned, I mean, you make a hire, something changes in your business. It's probably, a couple of things could move on you or shift on you real fast, and your positive 80,000 all of a sudden becomes negative 20, right? And so,
and then you're probably in the position where now the mindset shifts towards, well, we got to cut back from everything.
Yeah.
And then that's
panic mode.
Yeah, that's going to end up really affecting your service.
Yeah.
Your future, the service of your clients.
For sure. For sure. So so I mean, at the beginning of the year, really getting a plan put together of not just what do I want to sell this year, right? No, it's what do we want to sell? That's fine. But also, what are we going to spend? What additional hires do we need to make? Do we need to spend additional money in marketing to get additional traction, additional market share? Is our overhead going to change? Are we moving buildings for some reason, right? Things like that, right? Let's get down to what is the business going to produce in profits?
Yeah.
And then beyond that, how much of that are you taking home as the owner to meet your goals, right? Because if you're in business and you're not moving towards completing your personal goals, why are we in business?
Right.
Like, go get a job.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah,
Like,
it leads me to, as you were talking about that, I was thinking, so I use a lot of Donald Miller's story branding concepts of like, all of your customers have a problem and you're kind of the guide to help them overcome their challenges.
For sure.
And so I'm sure in a lot of ways, especially if you're not a numbers person, all this stuff might sound really, really boring. But if you could translate into like, okay, how is this going to really impact, what we're talking about, your business and the problems that you solve. But more than that, when you solve those problems, what does your life look like when those problems are solved? Like I think about it, I used to be in personal training and fitness, right? I could talk about like all the workouts, all the boring stuff. But in reality, women would come to me and say, hey, Jason, I don't feel comfortable even taking my family to the pool because I don't like the way my body looks, or I won't take pictures with my family. I haven't taken a picture in years. They have this nagging self-confidence that's in the back of their mind, like 24/7.
Yep.
And so like my approach to them was like, hey, we can help get your confidence back. Like we can help build habits in your life that are sustainable.
Yep.
And help find the root causes that are going to help you not only get your confidence back, but when you get your confidence back, you're going to be able to enjoy all those other things that you're missing out on.
For sure.
And so maybe, I don't know if there's maybe some things like that you could translate. Hey, yeah, we're helping you with the numbers, but this is what, when we solve these problems, this is what your life can look like.
Yep. Yeah, I've got I actually have a really great story that's kind of along the same lines right now. So I'm working with a lawyer right now, and he does great work. He works with veterans, and so veterans, they get payments from the VA, if they're like disability or after they've retired, things like that. And sometimes they don't calculate those payments right, And so sometimes veterans, end up not getting the money from the VA that they should. And so, this attorney, he's an attorney, but he's also a veteran. And so his whole entire practice is centered around how do we help veterans get the money that they should have got from the VA, right?
It's a shame that they don't,
it just sometimes mistakes are made, right? And it just works out that way. And I don't think that anything there is done intentionally. I think, things just, it just happens, right? And we are dealing with a large volume of people too, right? We have a lot of veterans.
Yep.
And so it's a large volume of payments to keep track of, right? I mean,
that makes sense.
I mean, think about if you had to cut 1 million checks a month, right? Or something. I don't even know how many veterans we have in the country, but it could be really, really up there, right?
Yeah.
But one of his big personal goals is he has a daughter and she has a gluten allergy. And one of his big things is I want to build a business to a point where I've got some additional money to take and open up a gluten-free bakery.
Oh, wow.
Because we don't have it in our community, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have, and he wants to get to a place where he can take one day off a week so that he can really manage it, and so that he's only working 4 days a week, right?
Wow.
So those are the things, that you're kind of talking about, that they're intangible, right? It's like, think about the impact of that, right? Because he recognizes, like, hey, my daughter has a need. We don't have anything like that in our community. Think about the impact of that for the community, but also for him personally, right? That he has a passion for it. He wants to get it done. And now we're, kind of using his business as a vehicle to produce enough income. And then we're setting up the structure so that he can get a day off a week to go and run that and hire some people along the way too. And those are the kind of intangible things, right? The personal goals that you have that, it's hard to put a price tag on.
Yeah, because ultimately, like, I think Donald Miller says something like that. Like, let's say you're selling a car, and you talk about this feature and that feature and all that, and it's like, great, it has all this feature, but how is this really like impacting my life?
Yep.
And what you just shared is so important, because ultimately it's gonna give the motivation to drive to do these things that maybe like are important.
For sure.
But maybe you don't recognize the importance of it or what it can do for you to be able to get to the goals that you want.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I would love for you to maybe we could segue into kind of, okay, well, you help business owners and you come in as an advisor to help them set these goals. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I love that. So I've really got a 6-step process.
Okay.
And I'll kind of lay this out for you. So the first one is we're going to set targets for the business, and that's where are we going, right? And this is really different from budgeting, right? Budgeting, you're putting a limit on how much we're going to spend. And then also you only look at that budget after you've already spent that money, right?
Yeah.
So this is a completely different mindset, completely different twist on it. We're going to set targets for where are we going, right? And that includes the things that I just talked about, right? It's not just revenue, but it's also what's our target for profit this year? What's our target for you as the owner to take home? And what's our target to add to the bank, right? Like if your bank account balance is 50 grand and our target is we're going to add 50 grand to that and we're going to take it to 100, and that's going to be there by the end of this year, right? That's our target for net cash flow that we're adding to the bank, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first step, is where are we going, right? And if you're a business owner and you start going through that and, we kind of get down to the end and you're like, oh, man, I don't know if I'm happy with that number, right?
Yeah.
Then we know we got to go make changes, right? And if you're a business owner and you're not going through that process, how do you know that you're going to like where you end up, right, at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want all of my clients to want to throw the biggest New Year's party of their life when we get to the end of this year, right?
Yeah.
Because they're happy with their numbers, they're happy to kick off a new year next year, and they're happy with the progress they made this year, right?
Well,
so
it sounds like
one.
to add to that step is like, if I was talking with Sue Newman, I think you know her, and she's used to be a strategic planner and stuff like that. But that's why I think this kind of goes in with that, because like you just said, if we're going to set numbers, okay, well then now it's like, okay, what do we need to do to get to that?
Yep.
And I had her on and we kind of talked about like the 12-week year process of like, setting some goals for over the 12 weeks.
Yep.
And that's going to ultimately, those small goals help you get to the big goal and stuff like that. So anyways, that was just kind of a side note.
And so then step 2 is I'm going to look at your actual real numbers, right? I'm going to dive into the accounting stuff. This I don't do with the business owner. I keep them out of it. This is behind the scenes so that I can really step in and do the heavy lifting for the business, right? Looking at the actual numbers, looking at the statements, what have we really done, right? And then based on what we've really done in my analysis, step 3 is I forecast forward to the end of the year. So based on what we've done so far, where are we going? Again, this is where I talked about earlier, CFOs, we really look forward, right? Where are we going? If we keep going down this road that we're on right now, where are we going to end the year, right? And then step 4 is I really bring everything together, and it shows up on a financial dashboard. And this is where I bring the business owner in. It's really cool. It's all color coordinated, green, yellow, red, right? And I try to keep it really simple and straightforward. And we can see, okay, look, here's our target number that we targeted to do in revenue this year. Like here's our forecast number, right? And so we can compare like, where do we target? Are we going to hit that target? Or is our forecast falling short of that? Or maybe our forecast is over that. Like, hey, this thing is green. You're on track to sell more this year than you wanted to, right? But we're looking at every metric. It's not just sales. It's it's what we're spending in payroll. It's what we're spending in marketing. It's what our profits are, right? All the way down to cash flow. So
you were showing me that, like, you could be green in this area, but like, red in this area.
For sure. Some metrics could be on track and we're doing well. Others could be behind, right? And we're not doing well. And those red metrics, they're going to hold you back from hitting your goals, right?
Yeah.
They're going to hold you and your business back from being really financially strong, right? And so that's really step 4 is we're looking at the scoreboard, and I usually spend 10 or 15 minutes. The scoreboard doesn't have a ton of numbers on it. I try to keep it 12 numbers or less for business owners to keep things really simple, really straightforward. And then steps 5 and 6 is we take the red numbers, usually there's 1 or 2, and we build out an action plan. So step 5 is we write an objective. Step 6 is we build next steps in the rest of the action plan. And the action plan, we break it down to where it's individualized. Like, this is what we need to go and do in the business, 1, 2, 3, 4, with who in the organization is responsible and with due dates we want them to get it done by. So we have next steps. You can, as a business owner, a lot of the business owners I work with, they just, like, I'll print that out for them. They'll take it, they'll hand it to their team, they'll collaborate with them, be like, hey, these are the things we need to go and do. This is, affecting our numbers right now. And, here's the list, right? Here's the individual steps, and here's the timeline that I set, with Ryan, with our CFO. If you can't get these done in this timeline, like, let me know, let's rework the plan, right? And but we have due dates so that we're holding our team accountable. And, based on the analysis that I've done with the numbers, we know that the action plan that we put together is the most important thing to work on, right? As a business owner, I mean, there's thousands of things you could work on every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you know, like, that I'm really pulling the right lever and working on the right thing today to really make an impact, right? Well, how you know is through your numbers, right? And so that's really, so every month, like, when my clients leave the meeting with me, they get their scoreboard. So they know their key numbers. They know where, hey, I'm on track here, I'm not on track here, right? And they get their action plan. So they know, okay, in the next 30 days, yes, we have to run the business, we have to do our normal things. Here's the plan that we're doing that's our core focus outside of that, right? So that we can change our numbers. And so we know we can pin it down to, these are the things we have to do.
I love that, because had Bruce Sheraton on as well, and he's also like he coaches businesses in general, just with a lot of planning. But that's one of the points he made, is that so many business owners get caught into like doing a lot of things that aren't very important and can maybe seem important. And he called them like the big rocks, and focusing on it. I feel like what you're saying, if you have these numbers and you have these goals set out, now you know what exactly to work on that's actually going to move the ball forward, versus just getting caught up in doing all these like menial things that are actually keeping you from hitting the goals. And I really love what you're talking about there.
For sure. Yeah, it is a very clear path forward for the next 30 to 45 days is how we build it out. Some things take 60 days, right? And, I'll have periodic check-ins with the clients, make sure they're not stuck on anything. But, we're absolutely working on the most important stuff. And, a lot of my clients, we get them to a place where their scoreboard's fully green. And that means we're hitting our targets for the year, right?
And it probably makes you feel amazing.
It does, for sure. And it makes them feel amazing too, because they're doing a lot of the work to implement, right? Like I can kind of point them in the right direction, say, hey, your numbers are, say this, this, and this, right? And then they got to go and implement, right? Yeah. But then, once I can get them to that place, then we can start looking longer term, right? And we can start planning 5 years out, right? And we can start looking at, how do you really want to exit this business, right?
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be? Are you looking to sell and, have a nice exit and ride that into retirement. Like we can start looking longer term.
That's so good too, because like if your only goal is, to make a certain amount of money, but there's nothing like purposeful, like then what happens when
there's no end
you get
game.
to that point?
Yeah,
It's
there's
like,
no end game.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently where we were talking about a little bit about, how goals are so great, but they can become where it's like an idol, and then your identity is like set in that.
Yeah.
You think you're going to get satisfaction if I have this or that. But in reality, like you're talking about, is like, hey, let's talk about like purpose stuff, things that are going to really give you real fulfillment.
Yep.
And whatnot. So man, that's a good one too.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, my big goal for the last few years while I've been doing this has been, I'm setting out to help 100 small businesses.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And yes, that's a number goal, but for me, it's like, what's the impact of helping 100 small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Because I am a firm believer, you will not convince me otherwise. We have so many failed small businesses in America today because we don't have enough accountants and financial professionals that know the numbers and know this stuff doing the advisory work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because so many accountants go into the compliance world of, well, let me do your taxes for you, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of work there, right? And it's hard to find professionals that are doing that work, right? It's very, very hard. I'm hoping that...
And ones that are decent, that know what they're talking about, right?
I mean, I'm hoping that technology and AI can maybe replace some of that and really make us more efficient and speed some of that stuff up. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I don't have a high confidence in that based on what I've seen so far, but there's so many professionals that go into that side of things versus, let me go help small business owners and advise them on their numbers. Because ultimately, if you go out of business, it's because you ran out of money.
Yeah.
It's because you ran out of cash. And we can fix that by, making changes in the business and improving profits, improving the business. And, I just think about what's the impact of helping 100 small businesses, right?
Well, I love what you're saying too, because like I know my limits, and in business, I know where, like ultimately, I love the video production side. I love doing this.
Yep.
And I thrive in it. Like I geek out. The financial stuff, not so much. Like
For sure.
I don't. It doesn't get me excited. I'm not thrilled in it. I know the limits, and I think that's the way it is for most small business owners. I read a book called E-Myth years ago. I don't know if you ever heard of that book by Michael Gerber, but he was talking about how most business owners start as some sort of technician or something that they're good at.
Yep.
That they'd work, and they decide to go on their own, and they're really good on the technician side.
Yep.
But there's so many other pieces to business in terms of management and then the entrepreneurial side. I can never say that word right. Entrepreneur. But like what you're saying is like, man, I love that, because you can take that piece off the plate for them so they can actually do what they love and what they're good at instead of spending time in that area that they're not good at. And so I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean, when I start the monthly meetings, we typically spend about 15 minutes on the scoreboard and the numbers. That's my big goal, for the business owners that I'm working with, is like, let me do the heavy lifting and let's get down to a place where you only look at your numbers for 15 minutes a month.
Man,
right?
That's great.
And then from there, right, we're building out the action plan, which does change the numbers, but we're talking about actually working in the business. And so, sometimes that's getting back into more of what you love versus looking at numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that
was another concept you just mentioned about working in the business. And that's something that Michael Gerber talks about, is working in your business versus on your business. And, maybe some of you may have never heard of that concept, but, I think working in the business is kind of what you're talking about, is being able to set goals, having processes in place and systematize to where you have these systems in place so that way you can scale and grow the business. That is important for growth. Working on your business is always constantly having to be involved in every every little thing.
Yeah.
And I love that you made that point.
Yeah, I think there's a good divide there. I would say that building the action plan and looking at things strategically is working on the business to change the structure of it. And then going and executing the action plan and doing the steps is in the business, right? And so that's that clear divide there. I would say on is outside looking in, more strategic.
I like the way you put that. That's
what's
good.
the thing we need to change? And then in is now that we know what we need to change in the structure of how it looks,
make it happen.
Let's dive in and make it happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's a clear divide there. And yeah, so a lot of the work that, the business owner and I do together in our monthly meetings is on the business, strategic time. And, that's also, another great kind of benefit of, hiring me or working with like a outside CFO or something like that is you have time dedicated away from being the technician and being in the business to I'm going to sit down. We're going to spend an hour. We're going to look at the numbers and see what of the structure needs changed so we can work on the business. So you have time carved out in your schedule, built in already, that you're working on the business to make those big changes.
I love that. So I think we were on step 3, right? And then is there any other?
Oh, well, so step 3 is forecast. Step 4 is the scoreboard.
Okay.
Step 5 and 6 are the action plan.
Okay.
So step 5 is your overarching objective.
I might have missed what number
That's
you're
okay.
on.
That's all right. So step 5 is, your overarching objective. Maybe we're like a contractor and we have direct costs, right? And we have materials. Maybe our objective is we want to reduce our direct costs and materials from 55% of revenue to 51%. There's a lot of different ways to get that done, but maybe that's our overarching objective, right? And then we're going to build next steps on what are the steps that we're going to take to get it done. And that's the next steps is really part 6 and implementing is part 6.
Right. I love it.
Yep.
So what would you say, just being transparent here, if I'm a very small business owner, one-man band.
Yep.
I'm getting close to that place where I, would like to bring on, a couple additional people and stuff like that. But maybe being in the place where like, man, I know this is helpful. I know I need this, but I really don't have a whole lot of additional.
Yep.
It's hard to think about like, hey, taking other money that you already like, there's other needs that you have to do or whatever, but you need to invest into somebody like yourself, but not sure how to do that. I don't know if that question made sense or not.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing is let's start and work backwards. So, if you're sitting down, maybe you're doing a review, let's look at your numbers a little bit, right? And you can kind of bootstrap it and do it on your own to start with. Write down a number that you want to add to the bank account. Maybe it's $5,000. Maybe it's $10,000 for the year. Maybe it's something small, right? It's like, or maybe a great goal for you is $12,000. It's every month I want to see my bank account grow $1,000, right? Maybe that's what it is. That's okay, right? Wherever you want to start is fine. And then work backwards from there, right? So start with that and then look at what expenses you have, right? So maybe I'm renting an office space and that's $2,000, right? And maybe I've got software and that's $500, right? So now we've got $1,000. We've added in $2,500. Now you've got to make $3,500, right? In order to have that $1,000 left, right? And then add in what you're paying yourself, right? And kind of work backwards.
Okay.
And you're going to get into, well, what sales number do I need to hit, right? Most people start with the sales number of, I want to hit this, right? But instead work backwards, right? Okay. And then I think the big thing to review what you're offering and what your prices are. Review, is this really needed in the marketplace? What am I selling the most of? Where is my biggest demand? What value is that bringing, right? And what can I charge for it and keep selling it, right? Because probably the biggest lever that you can pull is probably pricing, right? Yeah. And making sure that you're priced right, that your client has a great value, great experience, great return, but also that you're priced so that you have good margins because that is going to allow you to hire people.
I feel like so many small business owners are afraid to charge more when in reality it's like, what I found early on in business was like people that wanted deals all the time, were the biggest pain as far as clients. But, people that had money and were willing to spend for good value. And it was like, and then you end up attracting more of the people that you want as an ideal client.
Yep.
But so many times you're undervaluing yourself.
Yep.
And
if you do that, you're not going to have the money and margin to hire.
Yeah.
And I always say that a good rule of thumb is you should have 20% of people turn you down for price.
Yeah.
If you're in that place,
that's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're closing at 100%, you're probably priced too low.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and I completely agree with you, right? Like it can be scary to raise prices.
Yeah.
I think your biggest first fear in your head is, oh my gosh, what if nobody signs with me?
Yeah.
What if I lose all my clients, right? And, in reality, I think like you said, we underestimate what our value is, and we underestimate that for too long. And we don't build in those raises. Like, everybody listening to this, when was the last time you raised prices, right? And if your answer is 2, 3, 4 years ago, you should raise your prices today, right? like no questions asked. I don't care where you're at today, right? Because think back to 2021, 2022, beginning of 2023, we experienced 8, 9, 10% inflation. Everything went up, right? I mean, you go find me 5 things today that you can buy for the same price that you bought them for in 2021 or before all that inflation, right? There isn't. There isn't anything, right? We've seen increases everywhere.
Yeah.
So
and I've seen too where, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but like there are some companies that choose to do like lower prices and very high volume. I mean, that's what Sam Walton did, but he was a genius, but I found with that, you could choose to do that, but you're also going to be spending, you're going to have so much more time involved, right? Because you're doing so much more versus being able to have, higher profit margin.
Yeah.
And be able to, have some time.
Yeah. In my opinion, as the small business owner, the one-man band, or you've got a small team, that's not the way to go, right? Yeah. In order to get that done, you've got to have big infrastructure, big automation, right? Yeah. And now if maybe you've gotten funded and you've got some big money that you can invest in infrastructure and do that, sure, maybe. Yeah. But and
I think in Sam Walton's case, like he got into the distribution part of things, and that's really where he made a lot of money. So, like I said, I think he was more of a genius, and it's probably not going to really work for the average person.
I would say that it probably not, right? And not for the solo guy. Yeah, you don't want to be playing a volume game. I think sometimes you can play a mix, a little bit of pricing, a little bit of volume, but sole volume game, I think, is a lot of work.
I agree with you. And a
lot of headaches.
Yeah. And it just goes back to like, what are you worth? What's your value? And if you're going to price it high, like show up and do it and follow through and bring high value,
Yeah.
And I think if you do those two things, like you're going to draw the right clients and you'll attract more of those.
For sure.
People that have the money don't mind spending it as long as they know they can,
Well, and I think it's a different mindset. You appreciate expertise.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I know I do.
For sure. I do too. Yeah. I don't know like much about cars, right? And so anything's wrong with the vehicle, it's like I take it in, maybe I Google something real quick just to make sure prices are somewhat in line, but it's like for the most part, I'm like, here, take my money, do it, right?
Yeah.
Because, I found people that are experts that like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not going to fix it myself, right? And so it's a different mindset, right? Like if you're out there and you're in business and you've been doing it for several years and you really are, and you've had a business for a few years and you've been surviving and having clients, you're probably in the upper end of things anyway, right? As far as quality goes, right? Like you're proven that I'm not going to say that you're an expert and you know everything, because nobody does.
Right.
But you are in that upper end of quality of what you can get in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you're worth it. Right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
like you're saying, I mean, there's clients out there that appreciate that expertise and they appreciate, having something that's quality. And
in all reality, like I feel like 70, 80, 90% of the companies out there are doing shoddy work. They're not showing up. They're not delivering. And so when you come in and you do, like, it already sets you apart from everybody else right off the bat, right? It's like,
for sure.
And so they're like, I want that guy.
For sure. Plus, I think there's a lot of employees, places that, don't have what it takes to run their own business. And that's why they're an employee somewhere, right? They don't have the expertise yet, right? Yeah. So if you're out there and you're a business owner and you do have that expertise and you do a great job and you've got great Google reviews and all those kind of things, like, you're worth it, right? Like, you need to be priced well.
Well, I have one follow-up question to what a little bit we were just talking about earlier, but so you were talking about how you come in and help, sit down with them through those 5 steps. Let's say for the very small business owner like myself, do you have something where, like, you might sit down with them maybe at the beginning once, maybe a couple times a year or something like that, and then as they grow, like, move into more. Do you do that with clients, or is it just like, hey, we're gonna sit down with you and we're gonna meet monthly and we're gonna
Yeah, so usually for my full-time clients, it's a monthly. Otherwise I find that we lose momentum, right? Because things do change in business, and each month you need that action plan of what's going on in my business that I need to dive in and work on, right?
Okay.
If you don't have that, how do you know how do you know what to do, right? Now, with that being said, I mean, I do my best, for the business owners that aren't quite to a place where they can hire me full time, or I say full time. I'm not full time in house, right? It's not like
well, like once a month.
Yeah, it's not like 40 hours a week. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do my best to, kind of give them some tools and give them some things to work on and use for themselves while they're, solo and growing and, building up to that monthly thing. Right. But the other thing I'll say is, I think as a small business, you can probably hire a part-time CFO a lot sooner than what you think.
Yeah, okay.
So, for service-based businesses, I really start working with service-based businesses when they hit about that $500,000 mark in revenue a year.
Okay.
So, just to kind of back up a minute, like $100K, if you're doing 6 figures, you should hire a bookkeeper. That bookkeeping firm, especially ones that work remotely, you can probably get them for anywhere from $300 a month to like $800-900 a month, right? To get that off your plate, if you're doing 6 figures a year in revenue.
Now, are you talking 6 figures gross?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So over 100K in revenue, you should hire a bookkeeper for sure. And obviously you should hire a tax preparer too. That's a one-time expense thing. Make sure that it's done right. Right. And then, like I said, like if you're a service-based business, you start trending towards that $500,000 a year in revenue, and you can afford working with me full time. And then obviously if you're beyond that and you're trending towards $1 million, you should definitely have like a CFO in-house, working with you. Because as you go towards $1 million, you're going to face some financial challenges for sure.
Absolutely. Well, man, I feel like this has been a great conversation. You've made it very interesting. Like I would assume like the stereotype for numbers people, they're more pretty, boring or whatever. But this has been a great conversation, and so you're really great at explaining all this stuff. If there's you're a business owner and they want to get a hold of you and reach out to you, like, do you have social media handles or things that you like? I could put into the description for them to reach out.
Yeah, best place to connect with me, netprofitcfo.com. Right on there, upper right-hand corner, link to my calendar. And you can book a meeting directly with me on my calendar. Be happy to do that for, your followers and everything. That is really the best place to go, netprofitcfo.com. I do work with a lot of attorneys and law firms, so I do market to them, but I work with all businesses. The system that I have Just to backtrack really quickly, the CFO organization that I'm a part of, we've got over 500 members. We all work in different industries. The system works for any small business. So I'm definitely open to working with any small business that's out there. And best place to go is netprofitcfo.com. And then right in the upper right-hand corner, link directly to my calendar.
Well, that's awesome, man. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on, explaining some of this stuff. If you're a business owner out there, obviously, I think Ryan could really help you guys out. Definitely reach out. He's just a great guy. I've really enjoyed this conversation. If you guys like this channel, this information, it's providing value, man, hey, we would love it if you like, subscribe, share, really help us out, and we would be honored. So thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you guys. Have a great day.